Hi everybody, Jasmine O'Reilly here, coming to you with LVLing UP Live, which is the monthly webinar series that we do as part of the LVLing UP project, where I get the great pleasure of talking to wonderful project management professionals. And we have a very wonderful human with us today who I've had the pleasure of working with for, would you believe it, Helen, over a year now. We've been working together at St. Vincent's Health Australia. So this is Helen Baumann on the line, who is the portfolio manager for St. Vincent's D&T department at, yes, of course, St. Vincent's Health Australia. So welcome, Helen. It's great to have you here. Do you want to just start by introducing yourself and what you do and how big that portfolio is of yours at St. Vincent's?
Thanks, Jasmine. Yeah, great opportunity. Thank you for asking, for making this possible. So my responsibility is to deliver capital projects within St. Vincent's Health Australia, and that's across our aged care division, our public hospital and private hospital division, and group office, so enterprise-wide solutions that we put across the whole group. Currently, I think we've got about 68 initiatives, so they're projects knocking on the door that the business want to get up and started, and they can be anything from infrastructure projects or clinical projects with the digital focus. We are currently implementing or have in flight 30 plus projects in my portfolio. And within that, we support a team of project managers, business analysts. We're trying to develop our maturity around the change space, so change managers, and we have coordinators as well in that group, and also looking to bring in test and technical managers. So really growing the portfolio. It all came to a bit of a hiatus during COVID. And suddenly all those systems that everyone's been using have been requiring quite significant attention. So lots of activity in my space across the whole group. So get to see some things from Australasian bone marrow transplant recipient register to CRM solutions in the Alcohol and Drug Centre in Sydney Public, to Talk to Me app, which is a product put in by Melbourne Public, to huge end-of-life Windows Server remediation pieces, Wayfinder projects. So there's quite a few in that portfolio, just to give you a taste.
I love it. And as I mentioned, I've been leading a big enterprise-wide project for St. Vincent's that sits in Helen's portfolio for over a year now. And it's been amazing to me just to see the scope of things that digital and technology do for St. Vincent's, what can be done in the healthcare space, but also some of the challenges which are quite unique. I'm not sure if they're just unique to health or just to St. Vincent's, but every one of those divisions that you mentioned, they run very independently. Even all the small hospitals and the small sites in them have their own management teams and CEOs. So not only are you running a big portfolio of 68 projects, Helen, and 30 in flight, but you've got to deal with lots of different complexities and semantics for all of those. So keeping across all of that, I think, is incredible. And I can say, hand on heart, I've seen great progress since you've been in the chair. So it's great working with you. I wanted to ask though, so you weren't always in projects, so I want to ask about that too, but since you have been in the project space and more recently in portfolio management, what's the best project you've ever worked on and what made it so good?
Ooh, I'm probably going to say the Wristman project. So that was an enterprise-wide solution that we were taking 5 separate instances that were all disparate with their data fields and moving them into one, which was truly an enterprise solution. I sort of stepped into the project, it was behind time. We reset it, we got a good team in, we worked really hard for a small team to deliver across a big space, which I know you're very familiar with, but we really connected the business in a way that I don't think had been done before. So we connected clinicians across specific areas of practice like blood glucose management or infection management or wound management, all those specialties that required special fields in Wristman, which manages risk reporting, quality reporting, incident management for workers and for patients, clients, residents. It also had a recall section which we put in, which nobody had ever seen before, so that we could manage all that equipment recall. So yeah, I think we really made a difference with a great team, and we delivered. So, and everyone was happy with the outcome in the business. Yeah. So good project.
Absolutely. I think I had started as it was sort of wrapping up and getting to the end of it, but it was definitely widely celebrated, and great to be another enterprise-wide project coming in after you, because you gave me so many tips of how to do. I can relate to a lot of what you're saying, you know, seeing that standardization, connecting people who've maybe not been connected before with the same way of doing something is really great. So thank you for sharing that. My next question for you, Helen, is now that you have been in projects, particularly at St. Vincent's, is it 8 years, maybe 9, you've been doing project work? Previous to that, what were you doing?
So I've been in the health field since I was 17, so a long time, and I started my career as a registered nurse. So training in the hospital, done various roles from nurse unit managers to fund managers to coordinators to community work to aged care work. I've worked across the whole spectrum of health, and I find that it enables me to speak both languages. I'm not technically trained, but I'm able to understand the language now, and learning a lot, which is great. So even in the hospital, when you were saying, you know, understanding who's who, even I understand the way they communicate, but I'm always finding someone through some rabbit hole that you go down and think, oh, you probably need to understand what we're doing here. And been in the industry for a long time, so.
Nice. So a lot of people that are in our wonderful Leveling Up project group know how passionate I am about getting out to site, getting on the coalface, meeting real people, not just head office people. But Helen, you take it to the next level. You've been one of those people in multiple roles. So I think that makes you ultimate project manager and now portfolio manager. So we can't all do that. But maybe if you find someone like Helen in the organisations you're working with who had that breadth of experience, they can certainly help you, particularly if you're new to space. So I was new to health before I worked at St. Vincent's, and I've learnt lots of things at speed, and you've definitely helped me with that, Helen, so thank you. So my next question is, so you have been, you know, particularly at St. Vincent's, but you've probably seen other projects as well. What are the common pitfalls and common mistakes that you see project managers making every day?
Underestimating the change impact is going to be number one. Yeah. Number two is going to be not having a disciplined test regime with the UAT. Often the user's expertise is not systems or testing. Their expertise is connecting a heart lung monitor, or, you know, managing a schedule, or whatever it is that they're doing in the organisation. Scientist, cardiologist, whatever their role is. So for them, testing is a challenge. So being cognizant of that when you're doing your planning and engagement piece is a common pitfall. I think managing the expectations both up and down in the communications, so governance needs to be really clear, and the way you document that. And I actually think that comes back to my nursing days. I'm a bit of a stickler on documenting and keeping your matters for information and decision minutes clear, because if you haven't documented it, you haven't done it. And that goes back to the nursing principles. In a court of law, if you haven't documented it, you haven't done it. So you have to make sure that you follow that through. So I
want to get that on my wall here. If you haven't documented it, you haven't done it. Take that away, everyone. If you've never taken only one thing from this conversation with Helen, imprint that on your mind.
Yeah, it's just, you can't, you know, and so many times I've been asked, why did you make this decision to exclude X, Y, Z? Oh, hang on a minute, I reckon I did a paper on that.
Yeah, here it is.
And, you know, sometimes it kills you to get that paper out, but it also helps you formulate in your mind how to articulate that to an audience. because the audience are coming in cold. So you need to give them that background. You need to take them on that journey. But that's all part of your project management role. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love it. So they're the common pitfalls, which is a good segue to the next question, which is our last question, in that what is the recipe for a brilliant project? So I'm going to fathom a guess based on what you said, in that it's really understand that change impact, have fantastic communications both up and down, understand the environment in which you're working with. Is there anything else that makes a brilliant project?
Team.
Team. That's a really good call. What do you mean by that?
The team. You need to have a team. You need to have a really good team. You need to have the expertise in the areas that you need them in. Like every project that I've had success in, right next to me has been a subject matter expert. So someone that really knows the product or the workflows or the business and can say with authority on consultation with whoever, yes, this is the way to go. And then I can just get out of the way and make everything happen around them. But really, they're the person that's going to own it. So bringing them in and keeping them tight. So your team is super important. Obviously, you need change support in there, and comm support, good coordinator, who's your right arm, that allows you to do that documenting and brings the team together. I think, yeah, there's the team, a good team working together will make or break a project.
That's wonderful. Well, you were actually our second guest to have said that.
Oh, really?
Yes, that not just having a solid team, but the team all knowing their role and what the expectations are, and then it's just sort of this well-oiled machine that keeps going. So I don't think it's a surprise that you're our second guest to raise that. So all the project managers watching this episode, maybe reflect on your team and how you can enhance that so that you've got the right people at the right times doing the right things. Of course, that's project manager speak, but it makes all the difference, doesn't it, Helen? This could be the difference between success or failure. And we know so many projects fail, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and sometimes that definition of a failed project, one of the other things that I really are getting quite passionate about is making sure the planning is right up front. You need to have someone that understands the end-to-end, so that there's no surprises during delivery. I think that's really important as well. Getting across those details, I think.
All the project managers and project coordinators watching this are nodding furiously, going, we wish that happened. Yeah,
scope, the fundamentals, scope, timeline, budget, they're our bread and butter.
Yeah.
And the business have to understand what that scope is too. I remember when I did Mosaic, which was an oncology solution, it's a very complex environment and multiple components in it that when it was initially scoped, didn't really understand what does cancer services deliver. So when we stepped into that project, we really needed to take the steering committee, because you have representatives from finance, quality, cancer services executive, but really had to take them on the journey as to, well, this is cancer services includes blood transfusion. It includes bone marrow transplants. Yes. It's not just chemotherapy as a day patient, it's actually as an inpatient. So that whole, actually the allied health now do chemotherapy. So that whole component of scope really has to be cleared and managed with both vendor, stakeholder, project, bread and butter.
Absolutely. And people watching this have heard me say before, consistent, clear communications. Yeah, you say the same thing to everyone, so everyone can parrot back to you exactly what the scope is and when it will be delivered.
So I think with that one, we took it back to, because I think that one was 9 months behind schedule when I came in, and we took it back to what are the core deliverables? What did we set out at the get-go to achieve? Let's take it back to core. Use the word core, just keep driving on the core, and then, rephase it with those enhancements going forward, rephase the project. So,
I like that. Okay, Okay, Helen, I appreciate all of your time. Thank you for sharing a little bit of a glimpse into what you do at St. Vincent's, and also how we can all become better project managers, change managers, project coordinators, which is the audience in our Leveling Up project group. But really appreciate your time and hope to work with you for many, many years to come and learn more from you.
Yeah, Jasmine. Oh, don't forget energy. That's what you always bring to the table.
Yes.
Yeah. Lots of energy to bring people with you. I think that's quite important too.
I love it. Well, there's lots of takeaways. Lots of takeaways from this chat. Remember your documentation, everyone. But that's a good note to end on, which is energy. So if you've made it all the way to the end, go forth and conquer with your projects and take some energy into them as Helen's final recommendation.
Thanks, Jasmine.
Thank you, Helen, and thank you everyone for watching.